Hey everyone, we are going to go from this to this.
What does perfect even mean? Is there even such a thing? Ooh, can we...
Ever since I changed my hair color, it's been a little bit of an adventure and a challenge each day putting on makeup and choosing colors. It's not easy. Anyway, I'm starting with my Mamonde Aqua Glow Ball Base. This is the gold one, shade 02. Yeah. And I really like this. If you like a bit of a glow that isn't too silicone and matte, it does help foundation to stay on longer through the day. But you're also not supposed to over apply this because that can have the reverse effect, which is true of any primer or skincare product really. Apply too much and it just makes all your makeup slide around because nothing is able to set the way it was intended to set. Okay, you see that glow? It does leave a slightly tacky feel. It's not greasy or anything, but you just feel very silky and hydrated, and this clings onto your foundation. I find it slightly more tacky than the Galon and YSL ones with the gold flecks. Okay, today I'm going to be trying out the Innisfree My Foundation 2.5. So this is one of those custom formulas where you can go into the store, pick out your right shade, and then decide your coverage level and also whether you want it dewy, satin, or matte. Mine, I believe, is either medium or high coverage and satin finish, and my shade is N22.
These expectations, they keep waiting.
The other interesting thing that you might want to check out when you're in the stores is they have two foundation brushes. So they have two shapes, if you can see. This one is a thicker ferrule diamond shape, tapered, and this is meant to give you extra coverage, whereas this one, which is a very flat, extremely flat and flexible paddle shaped brush, this one creates more of a glow. So I will try both today and maybe one on each side of the face. We'll see if there's a bit of a visible difference. I'll probably try the coverage brush on this side of the face and then the glow on this side. I don't like to load my brushes with foundation because I feel it clogs up the bristles and they don't work the way they were intended to. So my preference is always to apply it to the skin and then just use the brush to buff or blend. I'm doing very short strokes, not so much of like a buffing movement because this is sort of like a diamond cut. It doesn't swirl. Okay, this is definitely the high coverage option. And the point actually makes it quite good for getting into the inner corners.
What does perfect even mean?
This is sort of a, well, it's meant to be satin finish, but it's got quite a bit of glow, so I'm gonna have to see how well it lasts over the day.
And imagine how you don't.
This brush on the other side of the face.
So fed up with these expectations, they keep weighing me down. My heart is begging me to get the hell out of my head. I'm gonna live inside the upside down.
So it spreads out the coverage a bit more. And it sort of, well, it creates that glow because, you know, you're kind of smoothing everything over. But I still find it leaves little streaks, brush streaks, like typical flat foundation brushes, so you've got to be careful to blend it out, make sure there are no lines. You know what? I'm not sure that this side is glowing any less than here, it's just that this does have fuller coverage, and this one's just a sheerer application. Just gonna try and even up both sides of the face a little bit, which means a little bit more foundation on this side. Going in with the coverage brush.
Yeah, I've discussed it with myself and I'm disgusted with the way.
The coverage brush does leave a lot less streaks as well. So if you don't have a lot of time to check your makeup or do your blending, I would go with this. It sort of gives like an airbrushed finish to your foundation. And I'm sure it will work pretty well with any other foundation. It doesn't have to be an Innisfree one.
Out of my head, I'm gonna live inside the upside down for a minute.
I think spot scars almost entirely covered. I'll probably go in with just a tiny touch of concealer, but doesn't need a lot right now. I have to say though, look at that glow. You know, if the satin formula is already this glowy, I'm not sure what the dewy one looks like. I would personally hesitate to try it in Singapore weather, but if you are going to a cold country or you live in a cold country, I think the dewy one would probably look really beautiful. I'm going to go in with my Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. I like to use shade 6. It's a little bit more yellow than my skin, but that helps to neutralize darkness and redness very well. I do wish they would bring Kevyn Aucoin into Singapore, because it's so hard to find shades online without being able to swatch them and try them on. And Sensual Skin Enhancer is something I've been using for 6 or 7 years. I don't use it as foundation, but it's a fantastic spot concealer because the coverage is just so dense and it looks like skin.
Is there even such a thing?
It's just also not cheap, so I hesitate to recommend people buy it online when you can't swatch or check your shades.
And imagine a utopia. Darling, I'm just so
It's a very thick cream with a tiny bit of a wax in the formula, so it doesn't change the consistency of whatever. So it doesn't change the consistency of your skin. You do have to set it though, because this is not self-setting.
down for a minute.
Aside from being completely colorless right now, I look like I've just been to the spa and everything's glowing. I need to lock my makeup down, especially around the eyes, but I don't want it to go completely flat matte, so I'm not going to be using my super matte loose powder today. I will be going in with Laura Mercier translucent loose setting powder. It's still mattifying, but not quite as mattifying as super matte.
Perfect 10. Honey, I'm a perfect 10.
And it's important to remember that if you're using this sort of like creamy foundation as a concealer or camouflage cream, you do need to hardcore set it. And I will usually bake. I don't do this all over the face though with a sponge, because that would be too mattifying. I just do it around the problem areas. And then I just use a soft brush to sort of dust any excess powder away, diffuse the look a little bit. You kind of don't want a demarcation line between what's matte and what's glowy, so just sort of lightly dust between where it's matte and glowy. It looks matte now, but don't worry, because in about half an hour or so the shine's going to come through. Just going to very quickly go in with a little bit of blush. Benefit Rocketeur. This one is quite glowy, so it sort of sits well on top of the dewy foundation.
Oh, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, and if I say it enough, it
I'm going to try a new stick highlighter today. This one's from Mamonde Creamy Multicolor Balm. This is shade number 6, Rose Gold. If you are very fair, I'll go with one of the lighter shades. This is sort of like a light medium-ish tone. It might look okay now in the light because it's reflecting, but I tested it on my hand, and you know, when you turn at certain angles you can see the stripe color. But I'm sort of using it as a blush topper, so it should be fine. I'm gonna use the Glow foundation brush to blend this out. It is perfect for blending cream highlighter. Look at that. If you're used to very intense highlights, you may find that these are a little bit too subtle for you, but for every day, I think they're really, really great. So it looks like, you know, part of your skin. You just look healthy. Look at that. I've just done my brows off camera with my Shu Uemura Heart Formula 9 in Seal Brown. I wanted to use the Becca Volcano Goddess palette on camera. I've actually done 1 or 2 looks with this on IG story already, but no official review yet, so I might as well swatch these and film it. Just some basic details on the palette. You get 12 shades of shadow, which add up to 20 grams total. That averages out to about 1.67 grams of product per pan, which is pretty generous. Now the 3 matte shades are very smooth, very finely milled and very buttery, and they definitely work better with brushes than with fingers, which is pretty typical of matte shadows.
Gets ingrained in my head, and I start to see.
Now the shimmer shades are very pigmented and smooth as well, and they build up very nicely with a brush. Although you see some fallout with Agate and Crater, the 2 deeper shades, I didn't find this to be the case when I was applying it directly onto my eyes with a brush the past week or so. It's really a personal preference if you prefer these with a brush or a finger. They work well both ways. It just takes a little bit more time to build up the color with a brush, or you can just apply them damp. Now, the textured shades I find to be particularly problematic if you try to use them with a brush. You have to be careful with diamond dust, whether you are picking it up with a finger or a brush, because any residual pigment or stains from other shadows will contaminate that pan very, very easily. You'll end up with a permanently stained shadow. When using with fingers, I find Lava and Gilded are beautiful, the gold and the copper shade. All 3 shades also don't layer well on top of other shadows, they just don't want to stick, so I couldn't use them as eyeshadow toppers. Now the 2 fine-grained, cool-toned texture shadows were my least favorite in the entire palette. You can see how patchy they are going on and how much work it actually takes to build them up. They don't pick up well with a brush, they don't pick up that well with fingers either, although, like the other textured shadows, they also apply better with fingers. The problem with these 2 shades is when you use fingers to apply them, it's very, very easy to cause a hard pan to form on top of the surface. So if you can see the blue shade, Midnight Sapphire, I've used this about 3 or 4 times, and there are already little gouts and dips in the pan from where I had to work to dig some of the product out. It's almost impossible to use it with a brush. It takes about 3 or 4 layers just to get a true shade of blue. These were very disappointing because they look so beautiful in the pan. Just by process of elimination, I haven't used Red Rock yet, so I'm going to use this today.
Honey, am I perfect?
I'm just going to use Haze in the inner parts of my lid.
What does perfect even mean?
Diamond dust. The thing about it is the texture is so chunky that sometimes when you try to apply it on tight corners, you know, or small areas, it doesn't stick. Crumbles off in little flakes.
And imagine a utopia. Darling, I'm just so fed up with these expectations. They keep weighing me down.
Like, it's not that it's not beautiful, it just takes a bit of work and experience to work with these. For the average person who just wants to get out the door, who has this much time? I am still going to go with Midnight Sapphire, my number 1 disappointment in the entire palette. Not much color at all. Can you see that? For something that looks this intense. I've learned to use a colored base wherever I want to apply that, just to make the color pop a little bit. But to me, there's no point because it just means that you need something additional to make this work the way you want it to work. I'm using Makeup Forever's Waterproof Glide On Eyeshadow I-22. And it's because I have this vibrant blue hair right now that I need to make this pop the way it should. Because otherwise, you know, beside my hair, it's just gonna look charcoal. You won't see much color at all.
Honey, am I-
Small smudge brush. This one is from H&M, small shading brush. I'm gonna take the Midnight Sapphire shade. I need to go in quite heavy-handed because the product does not want to get on the brush.
Every single thing we see curated. It's overrated.
I'm tracing it over the blue pencil and then slightly beyond. You know, you see I'm extending it a little bit. So then the hard lines, and right at the outer corners I'm going to be pulling it up at the same angle. Just drag it until it fades to nothing.
Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa.
You do have to be careful with fallout because of the amount that you need to pick up with your brush just to get any color on there.
It gets ingrained in my head, and
Again, extending straight up at the same angle, and just keep dragging until the color disappears. Before I go any further, it's time to remove any fallout. I'm also going to extend the color along the outer corners of the upper lid, so the whole eye isn't so bottom heavy. But most of the focus is still along the lower lash line. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit more of Midnight Sapphire just to smudge out the top as well. This helps to set the cream shadow and lock it down further as well.
what does perfect even mean? Is there even such a thing? Ooh, can we switch up all the rules and imagine a utopia?
Last Climax Mascara. This is my current new favorite.
They keep weighing me down. My heart is begging me to get the hell out of
I'm not doing my bottom lashes because no one can see anything anyway.
town for a minute and pretend, honey, I'm a perfect 10.
Tightline a little with some liquid liner because I don't want the gaps under and between my lashes.
And if I say it enough, it gets ingrained in my head, and I start to see.
And the eyes are done. I want a little icing on the cake, and I've got the Anastasia Dream Glow palette. This to me is not a highlighting palette per se. It's more like these Cover FX glitter drops. It's like a scattering of different multicolored sparkles, and not say like a pearly glow that emphasizes your face structure. Just be aware, you're not really getting 6 very, very different colors, even though they look different in the pan. Once you apply them and blend them out, the effect can be very, very similar for many of these. I'm just gonna go with the frosty blue, why not?
It's overrated. These expectations, they keep weighing me down.
Because it's sparkly rather than pearlescent, it doesn't really emphasize skin texture, so you don't really have to worry about it settling in lines. Tap it on, and then use this to almost buff it into the skin. This is just fun,
Whoa, and if I say it enough,
As part of the Volcano Goddess collection, Becca has some of these gorgeous sparkly glosses as well. And I have to say my instant favorite was Molten Mauve. It's sort of like a brownie pinky lip. Okay, I'm using Sephora's Rouge Gel Lip Liner in the shade 02, Nothing But Nude. So I'm going all over, quickly line. I basically rub my lips together until you almost can't tell I have anything on them, and there is a very, very thin layer as a base for gloss to cling to. I'm gonna go in with this. I haven't used a lot of Becca's glosses previously, so it's very hard for me to do a comparison, but I don't find these particularly sticky. They are comfortably thick. You know, they're not going to be sliding around and moving everywhere, but it's not like my lips are stuck together, you know. It's quite comfortable to wear, and there's a slightly minty feel to them. I really don't wear glosses on a regular basis, but these are an exception, and we are done. Just to summarize my thoughts on the Volcano Goddess collection, these are the only products I've tried. I love the glosses. I think all of the shades are beautiful. The gold one, Metamorphic Gold. This is a great topper on any other lip color. It's sort of gold, but it's got pink and purple shift. And then Molten Mauve is my absolute favorite because this is an everyday color that I can just whack on, and it just looks beautiful, it feels beautiful to me. And Ruby Fire is also beautiful. You can slap this over a very dark brown or red lipstick and it would look very, very gorgeous. As for the palette, I have very mixed feelings about it. I do feel that the quality of the mattes and the shimmers, you know, on this side of the palette is great. The only issue I have with it is that the colors, you know, some of the colors are so close that, you know, I could do without this shade. I could just mix these two for this. So I don't really need one more that's so close to one of the other shades. And it's a similar thing for the pearl shades as well. I mean, the shimmers are beautiful. They go on beautifully. It's pigmented and it's fine-grained and it's creamy. But when you use these two side by side on the eye, you don't get much of a contrast. As for the color composition, I think it's very interesting. It's very, very fun that they added in this blue. I just wish it performed better. This is just, like I said, the most disappointing shade in the entire palette. It's crumbly, it's chunky. It doesn't go on well with a brush. It doesn't really go on well with fingers either. These textured shades are chunky, but they do go on very much better with fingers. And, you know, they are pigmented. So aside from the issue of not layering well, if you already have any shadow or powder on your eyes, these work fine on their own. I mean, if you're using them as a main lid shade over a clean lid or primer, these are beautiful. And this is just, I don't know, why is it in there? I love that they added in, you know, one beautiful rich blue in there. I just wish it looked the way that it does in the palette. Despite all the complaints, it's a pretty nice basic palette if you don't own a lot of other palettes already, because you get, you know, you get your matte transition colors, you get some warm neutrals, you get some cool neutrals, and it can pretty much take you through the entire week plus weekend. You know, just pop some of these on and mix them in with your looks. If you own a lot of other palettes already, I would say you maybe don't need this. If this is what you're attracted to, just go buy a single shadow that's a metallic navy blue and, you know, use that in conjunction with any of the other naked nude palettes that you already have. You don't need to buy an entire palette just for this color story. You know, I do like the concept of this palette. Lots of wearable neutrals and then a few pops of extremely vibrant textured shades for a little interest. I just feel that, you know, this would be a lot more versatile if they had given us a little bit more variation among the shades. Overall, I did enjoy using this over the past week or so, but would I ask you to all run out and buy it? Probably not. These, if you like glosses in general, yes, go out and check them out. As for the Dream Glow Kit from Anastasia, I love this. It's not a highlighter palette. You know, I don't need one more highlighter palette, but I did want a sparkle palette. This does give you a look or a texture that you won't get from typical pearlescent highlighters. That said, it is very dramatic, and this is not for everyday use. I wouldn't wear this to the office, I don't think. If you're expecting very different shades, you know, from each of these, you might also be slightly disappointed because they do swatch out to a very, very similar look. I would say the problem came about because of the choice of the synthetic fluor phlogopite pigments that they chose to put in here. That is what you see on the skin after you buff it out. If you use the same ones in every single shade, they're gonna come off looking the same on the skin. So they would have done a little bit better, I feel, if they had used like a gold one here, a peach one here, you know, a lilac one here, blue one there, rather than, you know, throwing the same mix into every single one of these shades. Do I really mind? I mean, personally no, because I see this palette as one giant sparkle shade rather than 6. But if you need a bit of a variation, you might be better off buying these, because there is an actual differentiation of the synthetic mica that they put in these, so when you put it on your skin and blend it out, the sparkle you see will be different. This is gold, this is blue, and there's also a pink one. The Innisfree My Foundation 2.5, I love this concept. I love the idea of a drugstore priced foundation. You can customize exactly to your needs. You can choose the texture you want, the coverage level you want, you can choose the undertone that matches you best, and all that at pricing that is very, very affordable. The brushes I think are fantastic. The cover brush does exactly what it says. It builds coverage and it gives you this very airbrushed finish without, you know, shifting your foundation all over the place. The cover brush does exactly what it says. It blends out foundation beautifully, you look airbrushed, it doesn't remove coverage, doesn't spread things all over the place, there are no streaks. Does it do anything especially amazing compared to other buffing brushes? Maybe not. So if you already have a good buffing brush, you probably don't need this. But if you're in the market for one and you don't like the one that you already have, I suggest checking this out because they are also very reasonably priced. As for this, I didn't find it special at first, but it got amazing when I was using this to blend out my cream highlight and the sparkle shades, because it just melts everything into your skin and the makeup underneath. It just looks really nice, and it doesn't pull or remove coverage from beneath. The Mamonde Creamy Multicolor Balm Sticks. This is just fun and portable. I've always liked stick highlight shades. I find they look the most skin-like. Of course, I applied sparkle all over the top of this, but you saw how it looked before the glitter went on, and it is beautiful. They have a cream blush stick in this formula as well. I find those to be slightly more so-so. You know, it's the kind of very powdery, silicone-y texture, and I find it slightly more patchy when you try to blend it out compared to other slightly creamier formulations, but the stick highlights I really like. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see me film next, just leave a comment below as usual. Otherwise, stay well and I will see you soon.